Welcome back to the Nassau Hockey Podcast. We're having fun tonight because I messed up the intro, but we're really back here, and we want to get right to it this week because last week we kind of dilly-dallied a little bit, and we had a really long first half of the show, and then we finally got into Islanders hockey. So we'll try to keep it quick this week. James, favorite, least favorite reverse retro jersey that isn't the Islanders jersey?
Okay, so you guys are gonna hate me for this one because all right, let me start with my least favorite, and I'm going to go with my least favorite. Trying to remember. I think I'm gonna go with the Red Wings, just because it was lazy, no creative anything in it. So I hate it. I hate it.
The Chicago one is also really bad because it's the same
one's the same thing. So we can loop those together. And then my favorite, oh God, people are going to hate this. The New Jersey Devils, because it's different. It's exactly what this reverse retro initiative is supposed to be. You know, it's a little sprinkle of something new. It's not something they've ever done before. They've never had, the yellow. I mean, it's the Kansas City Scouts, those colors, but it's not something they've ever done on a Devil logo before or for a Devils jersey. And I think that the colors just all look really good. I really like the way it looks with the Devils logo on it. The blue behind the red Devil logo is sick looking. And you probably saw my tweet. I want the chaos of the Devils wearing that jersey and the Avalanche wearing their reverse retro jersey, because it's the same jersey.
They're very close. And you also said that last show. Yeah, I do love both of those color schemes. The Colorado and the Devils are really good. For my favorite one, I was just really nostalgic for all the 90s ones. There seems to be like two camps. There's 90s to early 2000s, and then there's like 70s and earlier. There really weren't very many in the 80s. So I was really nostalgic. Like, I love the Dallas one. Obviously the Colorado Avalanche, kind of going back to that original jersey with the new with a new crust on it. The Boston Bruins one is cool. Obviously the Arizona Coyotes one is pretty dope.
You know which one I really like too, that I hope in the future, if these kinds of things continue, I don't know if reverse retro will continue, because we know Adidas is done after this season, but in keeping the similar fun in creating these jerseys, Florida's jersey is sweet. And
I think that's what people were envisioning for the Islanders, to have that shoulder patch lighthouse as their jersey. And I think that would have accomplished kind of the same thing.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that, because I just super love that shoulder patch now, the main logo on the jersey. It's a fun jersey, right? They did the powder blue that they've worn something similar in the past with that. Remember that circular logo with just the panther head in the middle? Which I hated those jerseys, but the colors, the light blue was in that jersey. So I love the color scheme. It's got the red shoulders and everything. It has that little bit of Florida flair to it. It's not my favorite jersey. I do like just how they had fun with it. But I although do like, and we could talk about the Islander reverse retro jersey when we get there, I do wish the Islanders at some point will do that with the Lighthouse logo. That would be sweet.
If this continues, I wonder if they would do that. If the reverse retro continues, even after Adidas, there's nothing that says that it won't. I was kind of torn on a few of them. Like, obviously the Detroit, Chicago. I don't like the Canes one, even though I do really love those early 2000s jerseys from them.
If they would have done it with the Whalers logo, I would have been all about it.
I don't know what I would have done. I think they've done like every color now. They're one of those teams that have just kind of pumped out some third jerseys over the years, so they didn't do themselves any favors. And they've kind of done the Whaler thing too. So I don't really know what I expected from them.
That's true.
If they didn't do a black version of this jersey way back, I would have just done a black jersey of whatever the early 2000s, 2001, 2, whatever, or Arches Urbe era Carolina Hurricanes jerseys. Just a black version would have been sick. I don't know if they've done that before. I didn't really like um, the Columbus Blue Jackets one. It's grown on me a little the more that I look at it, but just the black jersey, like the torso, looks weird.
I'm with you on
Um,
that.
and I heard I was listening to Steve Dangle the other day, and they were going through all of these jerseys, and they made the point to say like these are supposed to look good, like in the stands or walking down the street, and that you can't really say like, oh, the whole getup, maybe it'll look better with all the equipment. I don't really know that's going to be the case. Maybe it will, but as a fan jersey, like primarily a fan jersey, like these will last longer. They'll play in 6 NHL games, unless any of them adopt them as an actual third jersey in the future, which who knows? I find it hard to believe. So but it'll look a little weird out of context is maybe what I'm trying to say. Um, I like any of the 90s ones. I'm really drawn to like the Penguins, right? Because this is the jersey that the Robo Penguin.
Yeah, I
This
like
is
that.
the jersey that Kasparaitis wore after he was traded from Long Island to Pittsburgh. And then I kind of followed him there, and this is the jersey, the logo rather, that they won the 2001 that Kasparaitis scored that overtime goal against Buffalo. Um, the Buffalo Sabres one's really good too.
Yeah, I like that one. I like the Bruins Pooh Bear. I think it's clean looking.
Yeah, I like that one too. I think they did a white jersey, which
Oh,
not a lot of teams did, and I appreciate that. But I think my actual favorite, because it is just off the board, it's different. Um, Vancouver Canucks. I think it's just like there's
okay.
nothing super special about it. Again, I think just as a jersey, like this looks like a hockey jersey. It's a dude with
Yeah.
a stick. I think it's simple colors. I know I just got finished saying that I think it's about when you're walking around on the street. I think it does look really good like that. But I also am looking forward to the whole get up with the equipment.
You know what
Like I
ruins it
think
for
it'll look
me?
good.
You know what ruins it for me? I don't like the numbers on the chest. That bothers me.
Are they actually keeping that? Because that changes my opinion a little bit.
That's what I'm seeing in the reveal. It's got the 22 over here like it would on the back and on the sleeves. I don't like that here, and that's what it's showing. So
I
um,
might just go with the Bruins one or probably Arizona Coyotes. I love that.
I got to be honest. Like, of course, the Vegas Golden Knights had nothing to throw back to, but I love what they did. Like, they took the lettering from I forget the casino names, but they took the lettering from a casino name in Vegas, obviously, and then they took the numbers from a different casino in Vegas as well. And then the letters on the jersey, they glow in the dark, which I believe is what the letters do for the casino they pulled it from as well. So I super love how creative they were with that, and I think it's a really clean looking jersey. Like, I'm not a huge proponent of jerseys or that have the diagonal lettering. I don't normally love that, but Vegas for some reason knocked it out of the park. And when you see it as a full uniform too, because there are a couple of shots, like the pants have swords going down the sides. Like, I really like the way that jersey looks, the way it's put together. I'm a pretty big fan of that one too. I might even have that one as my favorite if it weren't for the Devils one. I'm really enjoying that one. Um, Washington's is just a throwback. It's not really a reverse retro, but it's nice. It's cool.
Yeah, I
The
agree.
Rangers,
I was
similarly, I like that.
disappointed in the Rangers. I
I like that
thought
they
they
put the
they
red
did
in
that
the
already.
sleeves.
Yeah, but they
Yeah,
did that
they
logo. Like
did.
they brought that logo back already. I don't remember what color it was. It's I guess it's irrelevant. But they
It was
could have
navy
went
blue.
with like the old. They could have went with the old shield that they used to have in like
Yeah,
the 20s. I kind of wanted them to do something. Do you remember right after September 11th they had New York? And I know you don't like the diagonal, but the Rangers have kind of done it, and it's kind of iconic.
yeah,
Right after
I
September
remember
11th,
that.
they changed it, and it was New York. I kind of wanted them to use that again. It would just been unique. Like no one has like
Yeah.
just like straight up the city, um, that or I guess Vegas maybe, but I like that like New York. That's very powerful. Again, or the Shield from the 20s or something like that. They had other jerseys they could have went to. Um, it's obviously not for me, and the point is to sell the jerseys. So I totally understand, why they went in this direction. I don't know why they
Yeah.
did it twice in a row. That's a little weird. Um, but anyway, to the island, what did you think of what turned out to be the Fisherman jersey and the reverse retro for the Islanders?
So we knew we were getting the Fisherman. We knew we were getting um, some sort of variation of it. Ultimately, I like it. I think it's clean looking. I think it's a perfect, touch of here's what you asked for, here's what you've been asking for, you know, the 50% of you who want it. But I gotta say, for as many people who complain about that logo and not wanting it, they sold out fairly quick. And so who's really complaining here, right? It's obviously more revenue for the league is a good thing. And you also have to think about it in this way too, right? Think about the amount of Fishman merchandise they have been pumping out in the last couple of seasons. They didn't make this jersey and just hope that it was going to work. They looked at the numbers and said, look at how much Fisherman material we have sold over the years. This is going to work. And what do you know? The day it releases, the day it sells out. So it's, in my opinion, I really liked it. I do understand some of the nitpicking with it, like the white stripe not matching the consistency of the orange stripe. Like it kind of veers off a little bit. I get it. I don't understand why they did that, but ultimately, I think they just cleaned up the Fisherman jersey, and I like it. I think it'll look good as a full uniform as well. The numbers have a wave to it. The names don't, which is interesting. But ultimately, not bad in my opinion. They said no teal, and there's a touch of teal, and they point out that there's a touch of teal. So I don't know. It's interesting to me. Like all the graphics too. Have you been looking at the graphics of them tweeting out what the players' opinions are of the jersey? They're all teal based.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just took it out of the jersey because it was supposed to just be something different. They weren't going to do a green jersey. They
No.
might do an orange jersey in the future. Um, I think it's it almost looks without the teal. It almost looks like a photo negative of that original logo with just like a little bit of orange or like it's just a slightly different thing. I really like these, and my suspicion, or rather, what I liked about this jersey, what I had thought about last episode was that they would take the shoulder patches off. As much as I like that logo, and one day maybe it could be the centerpiece, the center, the main crest another reverse retro jersey. It does look really clean without it,
Yeah.
and I do enjoy that. I think I like the simplicity. I'm excited to see it with the whole setup. I haven't seen any pictures of it. I don't know if you have, um, but I do really like it. Um, yeah, it'll look really good together. It's different enough. I think they did what people expected them to do. It's very clean. Another piece of paraphernalia that you can get for the Islanders, and I love that they leaned into this way. The Potvin socks. Did you see that?
Oh my god. One of the better marketing sells I've ever seen. Like way to take a whole fan base's pride and joy and turn it into a net positive for yourself. Like chef's kiss.
Yeah, that
Perfect.
was an A+ troll job by the Islanders.
Oh
I'm a
yeah.
little surprised. Like, I wonder how this is like a Lou Lamoriello run team, right? So, the Fisherman jersey is one thing. You're like, all right, well, he wants to make money. Like, anyone can make that decision eventually. Like, there's just a groundswell or, whatever the case is. This one strikes me as very interesting where somebody like was allowed to do it. They brought it up and they just like kept going up the food chain, kept going up the food chain. Unless it was a Ledecky idea or something like it's too good. This is
No, it's
very
it's
good.
excellent. And
Yeah,
and
I
even
I didn't
even
expect it
better
at all.
on them, even better on them to have him in the video of the announcement of like, hey, come buy these Potvins socks. That
Yeah.
was just
Yeah, I love that.
I couldn't have been more giddy in the moment of watching that video for the first time.
Totally took me by surprise. Didn't
Yeah.
expect that. And maybe that just makes it better, maybe it's not that funny. But I think as, like trolling Ranger fans, I think that's fantastic.
Oh, I think
I
it's
think
hilarious.
and I'll say right before they play the Rangers. So I think that's
Yeah.
very, very all that was very, very planned. Um, and it just great job to the marketing team.
Excellent.
If we there's not like they don't do a bad job, but I think they've always had a little more of a subdued kind of online persona, and this showed some personality a little bit. This showed what a lot of other sports teams, particularly hockey fans, have put out there, on Twitter and just like having fun on the internet. So I'm proud of them. I think it's a really good. I think it was a really good job on the ice. Instant reaction as a whole. The last week of Islanders hockey, there are a lot of talking points that I wrote down, but I kind of wanted to just get you. You can just kind of get on your soapbox for a second. Um, what did you think of the last week of Islanders hockey?
Yeah. So, still looks like they're trying to figure out the system. Um, we keep hearing that it's getting closer, and you see these steps being taken in the right direction, but it's almost like every time we see a step forward, we see a step or two back. Couple of things aren't working, such as right now it's not horrible, but it's not great with Romanov and Dobson. Um, you made the note of no centers have a goal. The scoring was hot to begin the season, dried up a little bit already pretty fast. I don't understand some of the lineup decisions, and this isn't me rallying the troops to say Lane Lambert needs to go. Like, I'm not going there at all. It's only, what are they, 5-6 games in now? We long way to go, plenty of season left. I'm just confused as to why. Look, you're gonna sit Josh Bailey for a game, okay, sit him for a game, but when he comes back, how is he on the first line? This is what I didn't understand when Barry Trotz did it with Kiefer Bellows. Which, speaking of, where is he? Right? You made the excellent point in the summer. Why are we paying this guy $1.2 million? That could have been allocated elsewhere. Well, look at what we're doing right now. He's sitting on the bench, and when he plays, look, does he look perfect? No, but is he getting the consistency? No. And he actually has had some pretty good moments. So it's striking me as odd that they're looking for this chemistry, yet they're moving around so many parts of the team and not allowing them to gain that chemistry consistently, all while trying to figure out this new system, this new style of play. And the only thing that's keeping them afloat right now, they have 2 wins, right? They're 2-4.
Correct.
So the only thing that's keeping them afloat right now, and still, I mean, look, it's only 6 games in. If they fall out of it a little bit, they can fight their way back. But you don't want to do that by American Thanksgiving, because you could be out of it, right? The goaltending is really the only thing right now that you could sit there and say is excellent.
Yeah, I'll say this though, and I'll give credit to Everyday Isles, though I don't know where they got it from. They had a graphic of since the 2018-19 season, so including this year's the last 5 seasons, their record through 6 games from 18-19 through 2021, they were 3-3. Last year they were 3-2-1. This year they're 2-4-0. So it's not like there's a huge departure by this point
No.
in their record. I think it's just how they're getting there. They're looking really, really bad in their losses. And I want to save some of these comments for we have the positives and negatives from the last week. I agree with the line juggling. It's a little confusing. You have seemingly 2 or 3 players for 1 or 2 spots. Soshnikov's in and out. He's in for Bellows. Bailey's also out. The lines are kind of all over the place. Wallstrom's playing on the second line now. As of today, he was playing with Bailey and Wallstrom and with Barzal.
Barzal and Bailey.
I don't even remember what that second line was at this point because
Lee,
I think
Nelson, Bouvillier.
sorry. So back to that, and I think by and large that largely worked. It's just very weird. The defense pairings changed a little bit. I think that was according to Lambert rather. He wasn't getting the matchups that he wanted, so he split up Pelican Pulak, which has proven to be not good. But at the same time, the defense hasn't looked particularly good. And not to say it's in their own zone the whole time, but it's that transition game again. We'll save some of that, but like their transition game is really bad. A lot of mistakes, so it's difficult to watch. Like they got absolutely annihilated by the Devils. That was hardly a hockey game.
So
They
you know what's super interesting, like that you bring up the Devils, and obviously now I cover them a little more closely. One of the major things that I see now is that the Devils are currently the reverse Islanders, right? The defense for the Devils is fine. Personnel wise, they have some things to work out system wise, but the defense is made up of some good players, much like the Islanders is, right? However, the goaltending for the Devils is not great versus the goaltending for the Islanders, which is elite. For the Devils, their offense is elite. Like at this moment, and probably again after tonight, they're currently leading the Detroit Red Wings 4-1. They're number one in the league in 5-on-5 Corsi for percentage with like something near 80%. It's crazy how much they possess the puck. They're nearing 40 shots a game almost every game. They're through tonight will be 7 games. Through 7 games, the minimum amount of shots they've taken in a game is 37. They are just crazy fast, crazy skilled. And, the way I see it is like I look at the forwards and Jack Hughes and Matthew Barzal, you can cancel out. But then they have Jesper Bratt, who I don't think we talk enough about in the NHL as a whole. He is the, if Hughes is Crosby, Bratt is Evgeny Malkin light. Like, obviously not direct comparisons, but you catch my drift, right? The Islanders don't have that. And that's what's making this team, the New Jersey Devils, so dangerous, is that if the Islanders just added that one more piece that could help add to the offense, like the Devils have with Hughes and Bratt, because they play on separate lines. Now you have to worry about 2 different sets of coverages for 2 different elite players on 2 separate shifts every other shift. The Islanders don't have that. And that's what's really holding them back right now. I know for the longest time we spoke about like, they can make this work. They have a plethora of guys who can, consistently chip in, right? And in the ever evolving NHL right now, it's just become more and more apparent to me after looking at one team so consistently versus now looking at another one so consistently that it really is ever apparent. The Islanders do need to add something to the offense in order to take that step forward, because there's a reason why they got worked by the Devils. They're so much faster than them, and they are so much better offensively than the Islanders because they can just hold on to the puck for 55 out of 60 minutes. It's crazy how much puck possession they have.
Yeah, and the Islanders, like thinking about their defense, which was supposed to be this thing that was going to make them better or keep them good or whatever the case was, they just like simply have not been able to do that. And then on top of that, Robin Salo to Bridgeport and Sebastian Aho, kind of gaining that 6th spot next to Mayfield, and he's not really, I don't know, he's not really moving the needle. I don't think he's standing out as something that's really, really bad. But as Lambert continues to kind of juggle those defense pairs, it's been difficult. I suspect Salo will be back at some point. They simply don't have the roster room, and we have some some points later on to talk about that too. But like, I just don't understand what's going to happen with this roster, because there's just not a lot they can do in any sense. So I didn't think Robin Salo was playing particularly bad. I think he might be getting exposed because he's trying to push the limit a little bit in Lambert's new system and that transition game, getting the puck up the ice. So if he's just getting caught up in it, I don't know that that's a reason to send him down, outside of just simply not having the roster space. And it's, again, just a curious move. Um, you're not going to send Wallstrom down, but you're really worried about losing Bellows or Soshnikov like that. It's really, really, and Sashnikov gets in for a game. He hasn't looked particularly good or bad. I mean, he had that one preseason goal. Um, you don't really need him and Clutterbuck in the lineup. So that's like they always just double down. Like you need Johnston and Martin in the lineup. Like I don't. That was a Trotz thing, and that was a Lambert thing. Like I don't understand these decisions. It's very, very strange where they're like doubling down on stuff that's not working. Quite literally, where they're like adding a second player that doesn't. It's like, oh, Robin Salo's making mistakes. May I suggest Sebastian Aho? And it's like, why is that better?
No.
Like, why? He's like, oh, Clutterbuck, that fourth line really isn't doing really great. Like, here, may I suggest Soshnikov or like Martin and Johnston? It's like, I don't get it. Like, you solved the problem by like maybe getting Bailey out of the lineup. Not to mention, like you said, that they just put him back on the first line. So anyone's guess is as good as ours. It's I don't know the point they're trying to prove. Like it doesn't. None of these things seem to line up for me.
And the thing is too, like you hear Matthew Barzal saying we have to play a faster game with more urgency, and yet we're still getting the same, lineup rolled out night after night, like just shuffled. And to Lambert's defense, he has no choice, right? He just has to make do with what he's got. But how many more times can you try and regurgitate these lines, go back to what you eventually, as many times as you regurgitate these lines, you're going to end up back where you started when everything else doesn't work anyway. So I'm not saying, look, 6 games in, they have to make a trade and add some scoring punch. What I'm saying is that if they can't figure out this system, they, Salo and Romanov and Dobson, for some reason, don't gel the right way. Now you're seeing Pelech and Pollock split up again, which is, look, whether you like it or not, that when they're better together than they are apart. So you're weakening yourself in that sense. You're, you don't have the scoring punch. Anthony Beauvillier is proving to be streaky again. Palmieri has no goals. Although he's looked good, he has no goals. Nothing from the centers. Where's Brock Nelson? It's October 25th. He has no goals. It's not Brocktober. So these things are all adding up. And you can't complain about the goaltending. Goaltending's been fine.
No.
Ilya Sorokin's
well,
doing what
let's
he
get
does
into
best.
that a little bit with some of the positives. So, like in Ilya Sorokin, even Varlamov, I think they both looked good, even though their numbers aren't where you'd like them to be. None of it's certainly been their fault.
No, right. Absolutely. Sorokin's been Sorokin, right? He does what he does best. He makes those saves that you just say to yourself, how the hell did he do that? He's going to continue to just be that guy. And, if the Islanders are even remotely in the playoff picture come, February or March, you can see him in the conversation for the best. Now, I could see it happen. Varlamov is coming into this season healthy. He had a good training camp, a full training camp, and he's not battling the, being behind the 8 ball like he was last year. So you love to see that from your goaltending, just consistency all around. I like that or rather Lambert is giving him 2 starts out of every 3. Establishing that Sorokin is the number 1 and Semyon Varlamov is the number 2, which is fine. You don't have, you could call it 1A, 1B still, right? Because let's say, if, for instance, if Sorokin gets 55, 60 starts, that's still a decent amount of starts for, Semyon Varlamov as well. But I do like that Sorokin's getting the majority of them because if your aspirations are to get back to the playoffs, there are no nights off for the New York Islanders this season. Not against the Chicago Blackhawks, not against the San Jose Sharks. It doesn't matter who's in town. There's 0 nights off for this team as currently constructed. So, because you can't, Matthew Barzal still has to prove that he can put the team on his back and win a game. Other than him, nobody else on the Islanders is going to do that for you. They don't have the luxuries that the Colorado Avalanche have with Mikko Rantanen deciding, I'm going to go out there and win the game right now, or Nathan McKinnon saying, I'm going to go out there and win the game right now. They don't have those luxuries. So there's 0 nights off for them. The only
the whole team needs to show up every night. I think that's the honest truth of it all. They have to have like half of the forwards really show up, and the fourth line just kind of do what they do, right? Like I think that's very well said. They don't have any nights off, and if Barzal is just not going to do that in this system, that's perfectly fine. And again, I do want to talk about some of the positives, in this part of the show. Anders Lee, four goals in 7 games, 7 points. Oliver Wahlstrom, hot for a second, but I think mostly positive. He looks a lot better. I think he's moving his feet. He doesn't look, I don't want to say quicker, but I think he's just getting around the ice a little bit better. He's trying to throw some of that chippiness in there too, which I think just kind of fits the Islanders' overall style. The penalty kill, and the irony of all ironies, that the defense is scoring goals, can't find that 5-on-5 even strength defensive game that we're used to seeing, but is really good on the penalty kill. And it really begs the question: is it simply the even strength? Like, is Lambert's system failing at even strength at this point? And that's right. The thing that they need to focus on, because everything else is working. They're obviously able to like figure it out in their own zone. That offensive part of their game is throwing a wrench into their even strength play, because 22 for 22 is incredible to start the season.
Yeah,
and frankly,
I think
for
23,
whatever it is, 100%, it's amazing to kind of see that, because good teams, I don't want to say they start the season like that necessarily, but they certainly start the season with really good penalty kills and are able to kind of sustain that throughout the season. So if they are able to make the playoffs, this will be a strength of theirs throughout. This will help them get through some rounds if it gets to that point. Is there anything else that you saw for as positive? Anyone kind of standing out? Zach Parise, or Pelech Pulak, who finally had a goal the other night.
Yeah, Pulak had a goal the other night. That was good to see. I think he's back on power play 2 at the moment as of this morning. So you hope to see him continue to put the puck in the back of the net. You alluded to it a little bit. I think Oliver Wahlstrom does look pretty good right now. The 2 goals in that game to start the season, I think he had 3 in 2 nights, something like that. He's, like you said, he's not faster, but he's putting himself on the ice in better positions. Positionally, he knows where to be in order to be more successful, which is good to see. And he's better in the neutral and the defensive zone as well. So that's definitely something you want to see from him. Maybe a reason why going into tonight's game against the Rangers, he's playing with Matthew Barzal. I mean, as of yesterday morning when he skated in morning skate with the rest of the team. But so it's good to see Wahlstrom looks the way he does.
Nasserman Hockey is brought to you by DraftKings. Hey hockey fans, it's finally time to hit the ice again, and thanks to DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you're in for the season of a lifetime. New customers can bet $5 on any team and get $200 in free bets if they win. If you're an Islanders fan, you're excited that Matthew Barzal just signed a long-term extension. With a new contract in hand, why not bet on him to maybe be the MVP of the upcoming 2022-23 season? If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. You can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you'd like. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use promo code THPN, bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game, and get $200 in free bets if they do. That's code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
I do want to get to the negatives now, and we alluded to most of it, and that's been a lot of what this season has been so far. Loads of mistakes. Mostly just trying to get it out of their own zone and just bad passes. Trying to I don't want to say try to force plays, but they just haven't been able to find that sweet spot. What have you seen as far as the mistakes are concerned?
Yeah, a lot of you just said bad passes, and I do see often. I'm like, why are we making this pass? Why is this pass being made right now when clearly it's just going to be intercepted like it was? A couple of cross ice passes that are just not connecting, right? Maybe some guys trying to cheat a little bit, get behind the defenders, and get the puck up the ice. Some of those plays, or majority of the time, those plays aren't working. So, and I understand trying to play a faster game, trying to push that pace, but there's a difference between playing faster and pushing the pace and trying to cheat, trying to cherry pick and get behind the defenders. And you're at the NHL level now. The defenders are smarter than that to allow you to be behind them and let the pass get through them so you can be sprung for a breakaway or something like that. So I don't quite understand why they continue to try that, but they just do. And it's puzzling to me. And the other thing too is although they're trying to play a faster game, they don't look faster. That's a problem for
No.
me.
Well, I think they're trying to do it through passes. It's just the wrong passes. Those seam
Right.
passes and Barzell overpassing the puck and not shooting. And I think someone even asked him that question the other night. I forget after which game. And he's like, "Yeah, I tried to kind of fade him with looking for the shot and making the pass, and it just didn't work." And it's got to be the opposite for him. They know he's going to pass. He's got to shoot the puck, and he just no goals this season. I think he has 6 of 6, which is great. But he's gotta put it on the net, and he is shooting. He's at top. He's got 16 shots so far. I can't speak to their quality. I feel like I haven't really seen him shoot the puck all that much, so it's hard for me to say. But he's literally passing up on opportunities still. Something we said even when they were scoring loads of goals and 12 goals in 2 games, none of them came from Barzell. Now he contributed, but none of them coming from Barzell is to me is concerning. And then, as we said earlier, no goals from the centers and plus
Yeah.
Palmieri. So that's five forwards in your top 6 that don't potentially in your top 6 that have goals. I don't
Right.
understand now. Palmieri's kind of playing down the lineup now, but yeah, that didn't really last long with next to Barzell. So it's again another curious thing. Like one of the things Barzell had mentioned last year, we brought up a bunch of times is that the lines changed a lot just because people were in and out. And now it's changing just because it's not working and that no one's able to build that chemistry. It really hasn't been that long, even with the preseason. How long did the actual lineup play together? 2 games, maybe 3 parts of 3
Yeah.
games, and then practices. And now you're in the heat of the season. There's less practices the longer you go into the season just to make sure the guys get an off day. So I don't like any of that. What else is kind of on the negative side of things kind of stood out to you?
Well, I wanted to talk about you hinting on the Barzell literally passing up on opportunities. There was one opportunity that sticks out to me that blew my mind where Barzell was in the slot. He was either equal to or below the hash marks, below the dots. He had the puck on his stick, and he opted to pass it one more time. Once more, too many. It was just a few nights ago. I forget who it was against, but he could have easily scored there. I mean, he was in the perfect position to just at least put the puck on the net, and he opted to pass it to his left. I believe it was um, uh, who was playing left side that night. I mean, that's the other problem too. The lines are changing so often at this point that I can't even remember who's taking a shift with him. But
Lee was
um,
playing with Barzell for a minute. I
maybe
don't know. I
maybe
can't
it was
remember who's on
Anders
the
Lee.
right side, but it's been a little bit of a mess. And yeah, definitely hard to keep track of, and they're changing, minute to minute. And yeah, he's been doing that really, for the last three seasons, not really including his first one where he was just really getting his game together. But he's definitely a pass first kind of guy, and that doesn't in and of itself isn't bad. It's just that it can't be your entire game. That's like too
Right.
much of his identity. And I don't like, Kevin Kurz wrote a great article about Bavillier having a good game. a little while back, and we talked about it too, where against the Sharks, I believe, looked a little lost in the first period, but definitely picked up his game throughout. And since then, he looks clumsy out there. It's I don't understand what's happening. There's a couple Palmieri too. They get the puck and it looks like they don't know what to do with it. They're looking a little lost out there. They're not really. Palmieri is a little bit more of a crash and bang guy than I think he was billed as before he got to Long Island, where he's not as graceful, I think, as we all thought he would be. And it's weird that we didn't know that, considering he played in New Jersey for many, many years. And he's a really great goal scorer. When he gets the monkey off his back, apparently he can, score quite a bit of goals. But he's another one that just he's getting around the net. He's just he's always on his ass. He's always falling down. He's always something I guess that's good. It's not an effort thing. Beauvillier as well. It doesn't look like it's not for lack of effort. It's just they're working too hard. They're not being efficient, and it's just everything's moving and it's nothing's happening.
Yeah, it's almost like a nervous thing at this point. Especially with Beauvillier, is he just so in his own head from the events that occurred last season or lack thereof, really, that you could speak to for Beauvillier, and the storyline of that coming into this season is so much of that in his head that he can't. He goes out every night and he's like, okay, I have to perform. And he's putting all this pressure on himself. And then when he doesn't perform and he comes out on the other side, actually having a pretty horrible game because of the, mounting pressure for him to perform, you wonder if that's taking a toll, just because, again, we've seen, Beauvillier be this completely different player. Huge moments he would come through for the Islanders. And, are those moments not so big in your career that you've learned from and said to yourself, okay, I could do this. I could be that guy for the Islanders when they need me to be. Are you not at that level anymore? Have you lost what that means to you? And now you're just concerned with being consistent on a nightly basis? Because that's what it feels like is happening with Anthony Beauvillier.
I'll say this, and it's interesting because I heard someone say this about another player on a different show, that it didn't look like they were having fun. And I believe Beauvillier writes that on his sticks. And you look at him and even Palmieri and frankly a lot of the Islanders, and maybe Barry Trotz really beat it out of them. And he made hockey such a job, and Lamoriello made it such a job that it's hard to have fun with it. And those two players in particular, and maybe more of Beauvillier than Palmieri, he just doesn't look like he's having fun out there. He is just gripping his stick too tight, putting a lot of pressure on himself. And I agree with everything you said. He's got to go out there and relax a little bit. I don't know if that means actually scoring goals, but he can't go out there to think that he has to perform at this level. Just go out there and play your game. And that is easier said than done. When I was playing and coaches would tell me that, or whatever. It's hard to go out there and just go have fun again and just play your game. I do that now. I'm out there overthinking it. I'm if I was playing street hockey right now, I'd be flipping the puck up and what just have fun out there, screw up, whatever, who cares? But you're out there making sure you're trying to do the right thing, and all of a sudden it's isn't fun. You become a little robotic, and that's kind of what the Islanders are. The offensive part of the game is so creative, and they just maybe they forgot how to do that. They forgot what that means to get skates moving, get the puck moving, even just cycling the puck. When's the last time you saw that? That was their identity. That energy, that buzz, that kind of swarm mentality. That was the whole thing.
That's okay.
You remember that Pittsburgh series, right? These are the same players. These are not that different. What the hell happened?
So that's another.
They're 3 years older. They just lost all their energy. They can't do it anymore. It's crazy.
That's another thing. So okay, one thing I do want to say, kind of skipping back to the positive because I forgot about it for a second, but it came back to me. Fourth line looks good. Fourth line kind of looks like themselves a little bit again. However, moving forward, a little bit. They're not as bad as they were last year. They're all kind of doing what their role. They're playing to their role. They're fine. The thing about, and it's going to go back to the speed of the team again, right? There's two ways to gain the offensive zone. You either dump the puck and you chase it, or you skate it in and you set up. The problem is both of those things are not working. They dump the puck and they're not fast enough to recover it. And if they get there, they're not winning their puck battles. They're not winning the battles along the boards. They're not getting the puck back. They also aren't, if they're not Matthew Barzal, skating the puck over the blue line around the defender, curling back and figuring out a way to pass it off back to the blue line, to the defenseman, and start the rotation of the puck. They're not doing either of those things because they're just simply not fast enough to do it. And like you said earlier, they could be quick with their passes and get it done that way. However, they're making poor choices when trying to do so. So the problem here is, I guess in a nutshell, the speed at which they're playing the game, but also the speed at which they're thinking the game. And it's a problem on both ends of the spectrum.
I saw where you were trying to go, and I was going to say that mentally and physically, the game is slow for them right now. Yeah. They're not able to kind of generate that. And again, some of that's just like the creativeness frees you a little bit where you're not thinking about the game, right? You're playing your best when you're just playing your game. The second you start overthinking it, that's when you're making a mistake.
Right.
I should be doing this or this, just be where you're supposed to be. That's why you have practice. That's why you watch tape and do all this stuff. Overthink it then. Get on the ice, and when you're in the real jersey, you have to be able to kind of let things go a little bit. And they're all trying too hard, and it's simply not fun. And I think our last note here, reinforcements aren't coming. I know you have a note on this. Yeah. I find it very hard to believe. Like, I think this is it. I think what we're looking at. I don't think Dufour is coming. I wrote that in my piece this week for the hockey writers. Like, I don't think Dufour is coming. I don't think Ratu's coming. And this is not because they're not good. It has nothing to do with how they're playing. Lamoriello set up this roster in a certain way where they have zero flexibility. So unless there's a trade or they're willing to waive somebody, and the only player that is waiver exempt is Oliver Wahlstrom, I'll let you take a guess on whether they or not you think that's actually going to happen. Because clearly they're too afraid to lose Soshnikov or Bellows or whatever. I think we're looking at what we got. And so far it's super not working. From Lambert to the players.
Yeah, no, I hear that, and I totally get it. I just do wonder if it is at all possible, one of the kids gets a chance at some point. And injuries happen, and I know Salo's down there. But at forward, like, let's say, for instance, Cal Clutterbuck's, lingering injuries that seem to never go away, come back. And he misses a bunch of time. And in his place, Nikita Soshnikov, comes in and, he gets injured too. Where do you go next? Who's the next man up? They don't have a choice really, but to call up one of the kids, and whoever is, there, whoever's performing at the best level, and it works out for at that level, and it's working out positionally wise. You could see a Holmstrom come up who just scored 2 goals this weekend. You could see a Dufour who just scored his first 2 professional goals this weekend for Bridgeport. You could see the kid Ruslan Iskakov looks pretty good with I think he's leading Bridgeport in points. Couple goals, couple of assists there. Didn't even mention Aturatu, who's been apparently distributing the puck really well. The Bridge and look, it's the AHL, which is obviously a different, whole different level. It's a but there's a reason why they call it the second best hockey league in the world. I'll give them that credit. They're performing at that level. And let's say DeFore comes up and he is bringing something that the Islanders don't have, scoring, right? It's what he does. What are you going to do? You're going to send him back down if it's working? So I'm not saying
again
that
that's
it's
my
coming.
problem is like kind of yes, unless they're actually willing to lose a player that's not waiver exempt and they're just going to lose them to another team. I think that's the problem. Like, yes, injuries happen. I think that's an opportunity. Someone's out for a very long period of time. You have enough time to maybe figure out what happens when they get back, especially if they're on LTIR. And I really don't want to see any of these players get hurt necessarily.
No, of course not.
I'd rather you just wave Bellows, and that's it. I mean, make room for somebody. And I think for the Islanders, it's been a long time since somebody's just shown up on the roster and like made an immediate difference, just like a random player. Michael Grabner was that, right? They just kind of like grab him off waivers and all of a sudden he's scoring a million goals and he just like makes a huge difference. And I'm not suggesting that that's what's going to happen here, right? Like one of these players, and they all of a sudden they're just scoring 30 goals. Like, I don't think so. But somebody just bringing something different to the table that hasn't been around the team at all. Hardly anybody on Bridgeport has been around the Islanders big club. And through Barry Trotz and all this stuff, like it just not just an infusion of youth. Like while I think that's necessary to a point, you need an X factor. You need just like somebody out there trying to prove it, and that has some momentum and something positive to bring. Right, that's just gonna give off energy to the rest of the team. So I say all that. I said I don't think it's gonna happen. Not to say that I don't want it to. Not to say that I wouldn't love to see it. Soshnikov and Bellows. Give me a break. Or with Clutterbuck, like if you got a Soshnikov, all right, dude. Like if you're just not skating well, or Martin or whatever, and yeah, they look good, and yeah, they have the heart and all that kind of stuff, but you got to open up these spots somehow. Like you're just not doing yourself any favor as a GM, giving a bunch of one-way contracts. No one can go on. No one can just go through waivers and keep them in the organization. Like. And then you have to send Salo down? I don't know. You think 5 games or 4 games, that was enough for you? And it really had nothing to do with him in particular? That's a tough look. And, just so you don't lose Aho? I don't know. Like, that's a tough look, right? Like, I think in the offseason, we definitely tried to be like, all right, we can look at this roster, like it'll work, or it might work. It has a potential, or whatever the case is. Seeing that it's not working, like, and to the not, I don't think we even expected it to be quite like this, where we're like, if it keeps going in this direction, it's really bad. Like it's really bad.
And look,
I don't know what we're supposed to do. Like, it's just a completely different team than we expected.
All of this to say, with it's just 6 games into the season, so. Yes, everything that we have said so far justified because it's just 6 games into the season. However, we have also seen that for the last 82 stretch. But new regime, new staff behind the bench. Early in the season, there's still 74 games to go, 76 games to go. Maybe they'll figure it out. It just doesn't look good right now. It looks.
Yeah, they do need something.
It looks bad.
It does look like they just need a different player to come in, and maybe to start, like just leave Soshnikov in. Like I don't know. Because literally anything. Like try something out of the box here. Like I don't really know what he's bringing to the table. Like I haven't seen the team play different with him in the lineup. Like. Try it, I guess. Like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? If you're not going to actually make a trade, what's the worst thing what's going to happen? Like, I don't know that Parise is not the problem. And the lineup, per a bunch of reporters that were at practice, Andrew Gross and so on. Bailey, Barzell, Wallstrom, Lee, Nelson, Bavillier, Parise, Pajot, Palmieri, Martin, Cizikas, Clutterbuck. And we had kind of guessed these lines one way or another. Maybe at some point I would try switching Bailey and Bavillier. As we said, that 25 and under line, get a bunch of speed together on that line, um, scoring, passing, whatever. And then you just have veteran lines the rest of the way. The P3 line finally came to fruition. I said that over the summer.
Yep.
It's a matter of time. There's only so many different options. I'm not claiming to be some kind of genius here. It just made a lot of sense as far as a veteran presence. And Peugeot and Palmieri played well last year. Like, I don't know why that didn't just start together. It was curious. Yes, ideally Palmieri could score 25 goals next to Barzal. He scored 14 next to Peugeot. Don't screw that up. Like, that seems. I wonder what it's really like to be an NHL head coach, because it's very weird to like sit, because at a certain point they do see what we see, right? They do watch the tape, so they're seeing it from that eagle eye view as opposed to from behind the bench, which is a very different game. You're seeing everything from. So it's weird. Like, I would love to just really get in their head about how they're going about making these decisions, because it really doesn't make any sense. And then that's coaches like across the league. I don't really get it. Even GMs. And watching like the Amazon thing about the Leafs and all these other teams, like, it didn't really show. Like, they showed a little bit of that with Dubas kind of like sending players down and trades and this and that, and like how they evaluate it. But on a game-to-game basis, like, it just some of it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't know how they're making these decisions. And as far as Lambert, he's kind of rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic at this point.
Yeah, right. That was, and I think that was the, the whole premise coming into this season was it wasn't the players in the ice, it was the system. That was the message. We need a defenseman. Well, we got one. We're set. It wasn't the players, it was the system. Now they're playing a new system and it's still not working. So is it still not the players? Again, very early, just 6 games in, to be determined. But as of right now, it doesn't look good. There is also and again, it's funny because I was literally, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here, but I was talking to Matt Molson last night, and we were having a laugh at the fact that there were 17 scouts at the Devils Capitals game. And, I was like, so many people were wondering, are they here to, for Damon Severson, or the Devils going to trade Damon Severson? And he's like, dude, it's 5 games into the season. Why are people talking about this? And I'm like, I know it's people get really, really caught up in this kind of thing. However, I will make the caveat that Lamoriello historically has shown that he's not afraid to make a move at any point. There is also the other end of that spectrum where many would say he's afraid to ever make a move. He's a bit of a wild card, I guess, in that sense. He'll do whatever he wants on his own time. I do wonder, and I this is just my own curiosity, if things aren't working over the next 2 weeks, does he look for a spark? I
don't know what that looks like.
I've been told on.
I think that makes sense, but like,
I've been told
I don't
on
know how
multiple
that
occasions.
happens.
I've been told on multiple occasions from multiple sources who, look, believe what you want to believe, and this isn't me saying that this is going to happen. I've just had multiple conversations with multiple people who know that look out for a guy named Patrick Kane. There's history there.
I don't believe that for 1 second.
I understand. And this has been something that has been said on national level as well. But I have had conversations with, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, not. But I just wonder if there is something that could happen that is sort of like we can't go through another 82 like this. We need to nip this in the butt early and put a little spark behind this team so that we don't fall behind the 8 ball and we're out of it by Christmas. I wonder if that is a possibility.
I don't think so, frankly. Nothing's proven with Lamoriello's time with the Islanders for that to be true. Around the deadline, yes. He has not done that on Long Island. And I don't really know his track record early in seasons with the Devils or Toronto. I don't think that he's done anything like this early. I think here's the thing. You're definitely right in the sense that they don't want to go through an entire season and wait for the offseason and the money to come off the books and all that kind of stuff. I think they're going to try to go for it as long as they're not out of it. I just wonder when that is. So you're right in the sense like there's no way they're going to get through to Thanksgiving and simply just not do anything and just be out of it. And then by Christmas, you're just like way too far gone. That seems hard to believe. There's just nothing to prove that Lamoriello is actually willing to change the roster. And frankly, I don't know how you do that.
It would have to be through
what
trade.
Are you selling? Yes, obviously, but like, what? What is attractive about any of these players? Because it's not about how you get. I don't like the example because I think that it's very far fetched. I for a second don't believe it. But Patrick Kane. So say it's draft picks and a prospect, and it's due 4, right? Perfect, great. You got to move $10 million off your roster.
Unless they're retaining money, I mean,
$7 million, $6 million. They literally don't have the room. Like, it's just, even if they retain 50%, you don't have $5 million. You're waiving someone. And if that's the case, bring up the kids. If you're willing to waive somebody to get Patrick Kane, bring up the kids. And if it doesn't work, go get Patrick Kane. Like, I don't understand how, I don't get the thought process and like how that happens. Like, they literally don't have the room.
What also comes to mind for me is that Sebastian Aho has already went to the injured reserve for no reason. So you wonder if there's that loophole.
But like, how many? They'd have to do that with Palmieri.
No, I hear you.
They'd have to do that with
100%.
Pajot, which doesn't make any sense because then they'd be down a center. But I don't understand. It could be Josh Bailey, but that's $5 million. Sure. But it just doesn't make any sense. It'd be so many moves again, which Lamoriello has not really done. There would be so many moving parts. I just find it hard to believe.
My point was just that you can't allow this to get too far. If you allow this to get too far, and whether you put a stop to it by making a trade or calling up a kid, something has to happen. Something needs to be different because you can't, like you said, keep reshuffling the deck chairs and expect a different result. The definition of insanity is continuing to do the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. Look, I get you want Wahlstrom to develop. That's great, but he's going to develop with success around him. He's not going to develop with the bad habits that he's picking up from the lack of ability to execute on a system that is possibly above this team. Same goes for Salo. For the rest of the quote unquote young guys, like Anthony Beauvillier, like it's not working. And if they do want it to work, adding one more guy to the forward group, whether it's a kid or if it's a trade, knocks everyone down a peg and helps everyone a little bit. And all of a sudden you can play a little bit of a different style because you have, a Barzell on one line and, for argument's sake, another player similar to that echelon on the next. And suddenly you're a little more dynamic.
It is a little too early for that. Like 2 and 4, after this week and maybe the next, they're playing the Rangers, they're playing Carolina, they're playing Colorado. If they kind of continue, if it winds up being 6 straight losses or even 5 of 6, maybe they beat the Rangers, maybe they beat Carolina, whatever. If they lose 5 of 6, it's really bad shape. They're in last place. Detroit, if they lose against the Devils tonight, that's their first regulation loss. Are you kidding?
Right.
That's a joke. Buffalo is outplaying them. Now, granted, Buffalo seems to fall off after 12 games every season, so who knows? But we said the East would be very competitive, and there'd be a lot of points, being redistributed. the Islanders are just giving them away. I mean, granted, they're losing to, some, whatever, but I don't like. There was a real test, a rebound game against Florida Panthers, and they just like didn't show up for an entire 60 minutes. Sorokin's like really one maybe bad game and just a surprise on a few goals there. 5 goals against Tampa Bay. You can't have that. Can't have that. They have too much firepower to make even small mistakes. Like, I think it's too early about trades and even call ups or like what, I don't even know. But you look at a guy like Dufour or Ratu, like I wonder about that infusion of just like somebody different on the roster. My big question is just how it happens. It's not if it should happen, but like the likelihood is low because it just can't.
Right. And, totally fair argument.
And there's just on the roster, like somebody's got to step up. Like I'm not talking about who's going to be the hero. This is in Game 7, but like who's going to be the guy? Or the players or the whatever? Who is it going to be? And I don't know. A lot of silence from 3 guys in Barzal, Nelson, and Palmieri. Lot of silence, and it's tough because they've shown some things are working. Penalty kill, goaltending. I don't put it all together. I'm very confused.
The things that aren't working are the things that end up in the back of the net.
Yeah, and it's very 1-2. Like it's mistake goal. Like there's not even room to kind of figure it out. It's just like mistake back of the net. No recovery. So it's a little crazy.
Right, and that actually has twofold meaning, right? It ends up in the back of the net against them, but also it doesn't end up in the back of the net for them.
Right. Well, they haven't been able to kind of pounce on those opportunities, and it's like that lack of energy and that swarm kind of mentality, like like I talked about earlier, that like overwhelmed the Penguins 3 or 4 years ago. That really got them all the way to the that gritty style, but it was just wave after wave, and like they have none of that energy. They have none of that jump. They're not in anyone's face. So it's a little bit. It's been difficult to watch. I really don't have a whole lot. I know we'll like devolve this very quickly into just kind of belly aching for about 2 hours, but nearing the end here, I think we got through what we needed to, and a tough week ahead. We'll when we come back next week, and we almost didn't have a show this week because I thought the Islanders were playing tonight, on Tuesday as we're recording this.
Or Tuesday night,
Tuesday night, and I'm traveling to Maryland and DC this week for work, and like I was like, oh, we got to record and out of town and this and that. It's always complicated. We looked at the schedule yesterday, and it was like, oh no, they play on Wednesday, so we're safe. So we're glad we got the show in. We're able to kind of break that down before, like I said, big week. Please rate, review, subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at Nasman Hockey. You can find James' work at The Fourth Period. You can find my work at The Hockey Writers. And Isles Fix is back full time. Definitely subscribe. Get your recaps if you missed the game. Even if I watch the game, sometimes they always point out something that's good. So definitely check that out. It's a good way to start your day. James, bring us home.
Until next time, all. Let's go Islanders.